it would literally be Kevin Bacon at the end of Footloose. Someone is just going to say, I have his final words here. And it might even be a video of me going, sorry, I'm dead, but here I've paid for 2 hours of nonstop. There's no set breaks. There's no chance to go get a drink or take a piss. Just dance your ass off. And then while that video's playing, the band's already ready to go. And then boom.
Welcome to the final Encore, a show exploring the life and legacy of some of Australia's most interesting characters as they step into our studio funeral parlour to reflect on their life by planning for their death. I'm your host, Sam McConkey, and with me in studio today is none other than Osher Günsberg. Osher has been a fixture of Australian living rooms for more than 20 years. Starting his career in radio, he burst into our living rooms as the host of the original Australian Idol before becoming the face of the wildly popular franchises Masked Singer and The Bachelor. In between all of that, he's written a book, produced a documentary, hosted a long-running podcast series, created a family, and a whole lot more. This will be a particularly interesting conversation as Osher is very thoughtful and very comfortable thinking about his own mortality and deeply thoughtful about how having a better perspective of our own death can enrich our life. And we'll get into that and more as we explore how such a diverse set of experiences come together for a final farewell. Osher, it's a privilege. Welcome to the show.
That's pro strength memorizing. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. That's excellent. It's kind of interesting. I'm 50. I started in radio 30 years ago. Like that's an entire lifetime. There's people who weren't born there that now have kids. You know, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. You all right? You doing all right today?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Great.
I'm looking forward to this convo, Osher, and we'll start this podcast with a card game.
Yes.
We created the final shuffle as a way to ease people into conversations about death.
Yep.
And it's a great way to ease into a podcast also. There's everything in there from have you written a will through to who would you haunt. Simple, pick a card, any card. Feel free to pass and answer what comes out.
It's a blue card and it has wishes written on the back. What do you want the dress code to be at your funeral? Well, there really is only one answer to that. My wife is Fijian and I grew up in Brisbane, all right? So there's what's known as the Toowoomba tuxedo, which is a denim shirt and denim pants.
Yeah, good.
All right, so that's formal attire.
Yeah.
And your good volleys, you know? Or if you're kind of closer to the coast, your good thongs.
Right.
You know, you're going out. These are my going out thongs. So similarly, but Fijian formal wear is beautiful. And I was just there for actually 2 funerals back to back. It was a double header. And formal wear in Fiji is what's known as a bula shirt. Right. You might have seen it. Yeah. It's kind of usually 2 very distinct colours in a print. And for men, it's a bula shirt. It's very bright. There's always flowers. And there's a thing called the sulu vakatanga, which is the pocketless kind of male kind of skirt situation. That's actually, it's beautiful. They're very comfortable to wear. I've worn them a number of times. And for ladies, it is the beautiful thing about that is in Fiji, there's also a culture sometimes called kalavata, which is where, because people make a lot of their own clothes there, you go and get a couple of meters of fabric from the shop down in Singatoka or whatever, and you make a shirt for dad, a dress for mum, a little dress for your little daughter, a dress for your little son, and then all 4 of you roll in just like a crew.
Fantastic.
In. So I would say just kalavata, like absolutely everyone in the family group, or if you're going with somebody else, you're in identifiable teams.
Very good. And
it's beautiful and great to dance in.
And how does a Fijian funeral compare to a traditional Australian funeral?
It's pretty similar, you know. It's pretty similar. So I've been to all kinds of funerals, but you know, it was there was one at a cemetery, a very old cemetery in Suva, and there was another one which was at sea.
Right.
Yeah, it was the whole proper, you know,
Viking send-off?
Ashes in the ocean. No, there was no Viking send-off, unfortunately. But there was, you know, ashes in the ocean. Because my son, he's 5. We went to Hammerbound the other day and we drive past a cemetery on the way and he goes, Dad, that's where the dead people are. I said, yeah. He goes, why are they there? I said, oh, you know, it's because it can hurt and be quite really sad when someone dies, and if you have a place that you can go to remember them, it's really important. But it also reminds you that they're gone. But don't worry, it's okay. It feels bad for a while, but after a while, it feels a lot easier, and then soon enough, it's okay again. And he hasn't quite figured out that mum and dad are going to die. That's coming. I know that's coming. We're getting pretty close. The orbit's getting smaller and smaller. But I think it's important at a moment like that. I've heard people release balloons or whatever to have a moment that is not symbolic in a symbolic gesture, but it's useful to have a visual metaphor to go, oh, and there it is.
Something's gone.
There it is.
Yeah.
And it's really quite good.
My oldest son is 6, and I actually don't tell him what I do for work because I want to somehow thread the needle of both making them aware of death but also not taking their innocence too soon. But I went to his bedroom only a couple of nights ago and found him just bawling his eyes out in tears, and he'd hit that point where like he both understood what death was as a concept and then looked at mum and dad and realized that's going to happen to you guys at some point, and he was inconsolable.
What did you do?
It was a tricky one because I was in that moment, I was stuck between is this the educational moment of I step into the void and I do share that we are all going to die and you're going to die and we have that conversation, or do I avoid it? I probably took the easy path out that night. Osher, he was already well past his bedtime. But since then, we've started to have we've got to that point where he's now accepted that death is a thing, that it's going to happen to his parents. I don't think he's quite got to the phase where he accepts it will happen to himself yet, but we're getting close to that point.
I remember that quite clearly, but it's really, really interesting. I'm number 2 of 4 boys.
Yep.
And number 3 brother had the same experience when we both found out that one day the sun was going to burn out.
Right.
Terror. Absolute terror that I couldn't think my way out of. And I remember, mum and dad saying, look, both at separate points in the evening, saying it's okay. Like it's in 800 million years.
Yeah.
No, it's a long way from now, and my brother had the same thing. I think there's something really beautifully freeing about understanding your own mortality and understanding your own death and being in really full radical acceptance that it could happen to you and everyone you love at any second of the day.
What's been your journey to get to this point though? Because you haven't always been so comfortable, so pragmatic talking about your death. Take us on the journey from where you've come from to where you are now.
Like many young men, I had absolutely zero concept that my own ability to control my impulses or what I thought was going to be a great idea or a great laugh could kill me. All right. I had no idea about any of that. It is just by some freakish happenstance of quantum physics that you and I are talking in the universe where I made it, because there's plenty of splits of the timeline where I don't, guaranteed, right? But it wasn't until I started to get quite ill. I went through a period of significant mental ill health, and it was very traumatic. It was really awful. And I remember speaking with a therapist at the time about trying to find a way to acceptance of finality and an acceptance of there were things happening in the world that were beyond my control. And that was all coming back to the denial of death and denial that I didn't want it to end in a particular way, or that I was out of control over what was happening. And it was a huge amount of work and it was very difficult, but the freedom on the other side is profound. And so I think about it all the time.
Are there things that you do each day, practices that you have to keep that perspective of death front and center?
So I have a skull on my desk.
Oh, yeah.
Like proper memento mori. Like I've got it.
Yeah.
All right. It's a skull from Darren Hayes, the singer from Savage Garden. He was on a show called The Masked Singer. The set had like hundreds of these plastic skulls that Art had put together. And when they moved the set off stage, a couple of them fell off and just kind of tumbled under a road case. And I was like, and it's like they're never going to use it again.
Yeah.
It's just going to go sit in a warehouse at Warner Brothers somewhere. So now it sits on my desk and I think about it, I think about it every day. I deliberately think about it every day.
All right. Speaking of planning, Osher, we're here to plan your funeral.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Before we get into specifics, Listening to a recent episode of Better Than Yesterday, and you said the best funerals you've ever been to have an element of fun and joy.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Because the best funerals are where you're all together, people you might not have seen for some time. You each have an individual positive bond with this person. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given a shit to show up.
Yeah.
All right. So there's something that the person in the casket or the urn or the Viking boat stuffed with flammable kindling, whatever kind of funeral you've gone for, something about that person made your life better, and you want to let the people who've survived them know, because that's a part of how we feel better about eventually, about the death and the acceptance that this person's gone. And I've been to funerals where within the space of 5 minutes, people have gone from like racking, sobbing, whole body heaving with sobs to absolute laughter.
Yeah.
And back again.
Yeah. They're very close on the spectrum.
Within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The idea that you can't laugh at your funeral is bullshit. The funnier the story that you can tell, the better.
The next decision is venue. Osher, where are we having it?
It depends on what we can do with my corpse.
What would you like to have done with your corpse?
Well, in Ireland, they will sometimes bring the corpse into the bar, and you sit the corpse on the bar. There's an episode of The Wire. If you've never watched The Wire, you absolutely have to watch it. It's one of the greatest television things ever made. Second only to Gomorrah. Got to watch Gomorrah. But yeah, a cop dies and they put the body on the bar.
Pretty common actually. In a lot of cultures they do that.
Right. And they're just kind of with the body. So I don't know what we could do in New South Wales. I don't know, because that's another really good one to go, oh no, they're absolutely dead.
Gone.
They're really, really dead.
Yeah.
All right. If I'm not too mangled, an open casket would be good, because that helps people kind of go, oh no, he's dead.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's deady bones. Would do it at Elements of Byron Bay. It's a lovely spot. There's a lagoon pool in the middle. There's a bar. The beach is right there. There's lovely little bungalows that you can go and have a rest. But yeah, so we kind of gather right by the ocean there, and you can go and have a swim if you want. People can bring you a snack.
Yeah.
Hot dogs for the kids. Just a little QR code.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. All
right.
Table. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
Very
delightful. Means everyone got his travel though. If we're going to do it in Sydney, I mean, Marks Park's a bit done, but it's a lovely spot. Oh, I don't know. Do it in the at the barbecue sheds at Bronte Park. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, I got a better one. The Clovelly Surf Lifesaving Club, which is one of the all-time amazing surf lifesaving clubs in the country, because it's just cliff top ocean and it's sick. And so we'll do it at the Clovelly Surf Lifesaving Club, because they can do you a deal on the deep fried things. It's good parking.
Yeah.
Important.
Accessibility is
good
important.
Parking. There's a bus stop right outside.
Yeah.
And the Clovelly Hotel is literally 120 metres up the road.
Nice and convenient.
Yeah.
Also.
And so, if the Wake's up the road there, they have a lovely bistro menu. You can, sit there and people ask, why you got a suit on? And, you can sit there and enjoy your chips and fish with the, future members of the East and Sydney Roosters NRL team who seem to always be there.
What's on the menu? Are we just ordering off the menu at Clovelly?
I reckon, see what I said before, decisions, very difficult.
Yeah,
so you
tough.
take decisions off of people. Just go, look, I'm vegan and celiac, but don't worry about that. I'm dead. So look, here, there, whatever. Pizza's usually pretty good. Eat it with one hand.
Yeah.
Something you can eat with one hand.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Because at that time, people tend not to eat. You definitely see people come into your office and they look a bit shit, and you're like, you haven't eaten in 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Because it's too hard to even think about opening the fridge when you're in that,
Yeah.
And so this is why people show up at your house with casseroles and stuff, because you can't actually think about getting an onion out of the cupboard and cutting it up. I open up a food ordering app and I don't even know you're completely paralyzed. So having people just shove food in front of you is really good.
Totally.
Calories in is important.
When you're in that stage of grief, you don't even feel hunger. It's so far down your Maslow's hierarchy of emotions that it doesn't even occur to you to eat.
It does mean that you're more prone to make quite poor decisions
for sure.
and poor choices. and you want to have your wits about you. You know, yes, it's a terrible time, a really terrible time, but you don't want to do or say something that's going to aggravate the situation. So you getting some calories in there.
Speaking from experience,
Osher, oh yeah, man, for sure. Yeah. When you're that narrow in grief, you can't think about anything. You know, it's just, it's very tough. Very, very, very tough.
Food sorted, venue sorted, music. What's the soundtrack?
Whatever money I'm going to give to my family, I would portion off this much for a production budget and attribute it to an extraordinary performer by the name of Gary Pinto. He used to play in a band called CDB, and he and I have worked on a ton of shows together. He's a singing coach who basically teaches people under a mask singer mask how to sing, people who've never sung before.
Right.
He's very, very, very good. And he and I have talked about this. I'm like, mate, I want you to put together the most unfucking believable, like 12-piece, like what Earth, Wind and Fire did in 1979 at Budokan. I want that kind of band. I want 3 drummers, 2 bass players, like a Prince after party, and just wall to wall, unstoppable. And at the end of the eulogies, so bear in mind, this is very, very important. You don't go from the funeral to the after party.
Right.
All right. It's all the same place. All
Got
right.
it.
Because whenever you're on a night out with people, the number of people, if you move venues, you're going to lose a percentage.
Yeah.
Every time you move venues, you lose a percentage, and the externalities and the variabilities of people falling over or getting into fights or getting lost or whatever, just don't stay where you are.
Yep.
Stay where you are. So everything's in the same place. And at the end of the last eulogy, it would literally be Kevin Bacon at the end of Footloose. Someone is just going to say, I have his final words here. And it might even be a video of me going, sorry, I'm dead, but here I've paid for 2 hours of nonstop. There's no set breaks. There's no chance to go get a drink or take a piss. Just dance your ass off. And then while that video is playing, the band's already ready to go. And then boom,
Fantastic.
They just open the batting, just coming hard out. And no, just wall to wall music for 2 straight hours.
I had Denise Drysdale on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she's recorded her own eulogy.
Yes.
And at the end of her own eulogy, she's introducing the band.
Yes,
So it literally
fucking
goes-
oath, man. This is what I'm going to do. And then the screen will come up, and then there's like Gary Pinto and Mahalia Barnes and like all the like heaviest fucking players that there are. And it's just like non-stop. Boom, boom, boom. Hits. You don't get to leave the dance floor. And people like cry dancing. That's what I want. And because we've paid for it, we'd have actual live tubular bells on stage. And there would be pyro, sir.
Of course.
There would be pyro. You know what we'd do? We'd put the stage outside. That'd be shit hot. We'd put the stage in the car park. So convenient car park.
Coughing up there, pyrotechnics off into
Convenient
the water.
car park now gone, but now outdoor concert. Ripper. I mean, everyone's going to be listening to it, so they may as well come down and enjoy it.
Totally.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one artist from the Australian Idol and one song to perform at the funeral, what would you choose?
It would be Chris Murphy, who was Courtney Murphy's younger brother. Was a long hair, mustachioed, beery-oyed, guitar-playing guy from Western Australia, sir. And he was going to play Evie, the Stevie Wright comeback song, which is a monster, right? He changed the words in rehearsal, and we triple dared him. We were making a behind-the-scenes show for Channel V at the time, which was a musical television channel that doesn't exist. YouTube showed up, and then all music video ended. We would do things like we'd dare each other to do stuff on air.
Really?
Yeah. So in the ad breaks, we'd be filming, going, all right, when we go, I want you to find the way to get the word lettuce into this next. And then we would show the live footage where, well, are we going to find out who wins? Let us have a look. And we'd set each other's channels like that. And so we're doing this shit all the time. Chris Murphy had changed the lyrics in the rehearsal. And then in the ad break, we said to him, all right, I'm throwing down. I'm going to triple dare you to do what you did in rehearsal on live. And he goes, oh, fuck, easy. And we open the show. It's on YouTube. You can find this. It's on YouTube. He's going dun to the opening. He's got a Les Paul around his shoulders. I got some money in my pocket. I got my cockets in my hand. I got myself a couple of tickets. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to cut away? You're going to beep him? No. It went to air.
Live.
Brilliant.
Is that the proudest moment of your?
Yeah, it was up there. So I would get him to come and do that version of Evie because it's sick. It fucking rocks. And with those lyrics, but only if he then segues into Jailbreak from Thin Lizzy, which is the other Jailbreak, not the AC/DC Jailbreak. There's another Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy, which my son and I listen to when we ride the bicycle to school. He loves it.
Have you heard of the Coffin Confessor?
Tell me about the Coffin Confessor.
It's a very legitimate guy based on the Gold Coast. I think he was a private investigator by trade, and he's got a business for himself where his job, he works with terminally ill patients who either have a deep secret they want to get out or they want to play a practical joke at their funeral.
Oh my God, yes.
He will work with a cancer patient who wants him to go to the funeral and say, Auntie Margaret, I always hated you. Danny's sleeping with Margaret and I'm gay. I'm out. And then he just leaves. Or he will do something like that, but as a practical joke. And he's now got a team of, I want to say 6 people full-time working for him. Any role for this guy at your funeral?
Nah. Part of the joy of riding a bicycle and riding a motorcycle is that everybody I love knows how I feel about them.
Got it.
And I think that's really, really, really important. And if you can't be with how you feel about somebody, then you've got work to do because that will affect how you are with everybody else. But that's a bit brutal. I certainly wouldn't go for that. That's a bit of a
not for you.
That's a bit of a shit move for my opinion. But good for him, man. A practical joke though I might play a joke on people. That'd be pretty fun because you want people to laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think if humor's part of it, then what better way?
Perhaps, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It could be kind of fun. Yeah, that'd be fun.
What about photos? Are there particular photos from your life that are particularly significant to you, mean something that you want to display there as sort of reflective of the people and the moments that matter most?
There's a photograph that I took the night that Audrey came over to cook me dinner for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's a very special photograph. There's a photograph I took of Georgia. We were on holidays in Japan and we were walking through Kyoto in the snow. She was 12 years old and her face is framed by this, it was 20 below zero. It's fucking cold. That photo. And probably a photo of my son and I the day that Audrey gave us matching mullets. It's pretty cool. It's 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
We both got our little footy haircuts.
Nice.
And off we went.
Requested, or was that a barber's choice at the time?
When you're in the off season for TV, you're like, fuck continuity. We've shot everything. And off it comes. It's great.
So how has having kids changed your perspective on life and death?
I am a stepfather first, and then I became a father. So it's the part of fatherhood that no one talks about. The fatherhood that is kind of in the popular eyeball and the model of fatherhood is shirtless, ripped, massive bicep to baby head ratio.
Of course.
I've never felt more amazing. My life has purpose and meaning. Everything yes. But no one ever talks about what it is to be a stepdad. It's extraordinary, an unbelievable honor, huge responsibility, massive privilege, and a challenge. It's all of those things. It's like being a regular parent. However, you're trying to navigate that journey without some key ingredients that a birth parent has, and with some other complexities that a birth parent doesn't face. And so when I first met Georgia and Audrey together, it was just like, oh my God, everything, I fell in love with them both. I really did. You know, when you're dating people over the age of 40, you're going to be dating people with kids as a man, all right? It's fine. And one day she was my girlfriend's kid, and then the next day, nothing significant had happened, but I just woke up and I realized, oh my goodness, if we were, if I needed to push you out of the way of a tram to save your life, but it meant that I would be, chopped into pieces and smeared down Burke Street, I'd do it like that. And every dollar I now earn is to make whatever you want in this world manifest into reality. I am here simply to provide and look after who you are, which is a big surprise for a selfish fucker like me. And it was a beautiful thing All right. And it's great, that because I'd seen other men go through that when they had children, and I'd want other men to know that is a possibility when you become a step parent. You have access to that thing because it does a lot for your career. And I'm sure you could notice this. There's a thing that the way you thought about your work before, there was this helpless, small, puking, pooing, peeing thing that you needed to feed and protect. And then the moment that you met them, you're like, oh, right, I got to pull my finger out. We got to go here. We got to go.
Yeah.
And then they multiply because they work on commission. This is the trickiest thing about kids. They work on commission. They get more of them, and then more of them get more of them, and then so it changes how you then go about your day. It changes how you think about your own health.
Let's talk eulogy. What do you hope people say about you?
If you're going to make a eulogy at my funeral, all eulogies at my funeral must be delivered as a limerick. Because two things happen then. One, it's going to be funny.
Yep.
And yes, you mentioned that. Two, there's a definite expectation of time limit. So you can have a couple verses by all means because of the rhythm of it, and you are required to come up with a punchline again and again. It's like people who otherwise may not have spoken in public much, you're giving them a format where they're going to get a laugh. I'll get the production budget. I know a couple of great comedy writers. We'll get them on board, and I'll give you a writing team, and all you got to go out there is David Letterman it and deliver. But my any eulogy delivered as a limerick.
So open mic, but if you choose to step up, limerick.
There's usually that moment at a funeral where whoever's running the show says, was there anybody else that has anything to say? And everyone in the room goes, fuck, here comes the fucking confessor guy. Here it comes. I would have a plan set list so you get out. You get out on a good one. You don't want someone who was kind of a bit, thinking too much about going out there and getting up on the mic to end it. You want to go out on a big one. You want to wrap it up with a solid closer.
Who's closing for you?
I don't know, depending on who's still alive.
Assume it's tomorrow.
Probably Audrey, because she's one of the funniest people I know.
Right.
And I know a lot of real funny people. But my wife is just hilarious. God damn, she'd do a good one too.
It'll be in limerick form, but do you think much about your public legacy, Osher? You've got decades in sort of Australian living rooms. My mum, who's 70, loves you. My cousins who are 25 love you. You've had a pretty severe impact on a lot of people. Do you care about how you're remembered publicly?
When people remember your name, people go, oh yeah, versus, ooh, then you're okay. All right. I'm certainly, I think I'm Australian show business middle class. All right. That's kind of where I've always been. I'm never going to be Hamish Blake. All right. I'm never going to be Denya. I'm never going to be Carl.
How do you define top tier versus middle tier?
Well, the business side would be how easy it is to get projects greenlit.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be top tier.
Okay.
My tier is just, I think it's, I don't know, overall, it'd be a combination of overall legacy, production budget, and your ability to monetize things outside of the gig you're currently in.
Got it.
I haven't converted my monetization on the other side in any way, shape or form like some of the other people in this gig have, mostly because I've been too fucking busy trying to keep myself sane and married.
Yeah.
But that's okay. What's my legacy? I don't know. Like if people go, huh? Oh, yeah, I remember that. He's that guy from that thing. That's enough for me.
That's enough.
That's enough for me.
What about kids? What do you hope the lessons are that you've left Wolfgang and Georgia?
Oh, man. I tell them both the same thing. Like, your job is to have as many goes as you can. And if you need help, ask for it. That's it.
Last question for you, Osher. What's your epitaph?
As far as we know, he didn't die wondering.
That's a great one.
Yeah, as far as we know, he didn't die wondering. That'll be it, I reckon. That'll be it. But like what we do with my body is a whole other thing. I've heard of and maybe you could bring this in as a part of your service. There's a composting business that exists in the States. You've heard about that?
Yeah.
Put you in a cardboard box.
Straight back into the earth. Yep.
Yeah, they put you in a cardboard box, potting mix, heaps of worms, bokashi, whatever, 6 weeks. The box gets hot because of all the decomposition. And then now you've got, what's the inside square meterage of a coffin?
2, maybe?
2 square meters?
2 square meters, call it.
Of unbelievable soil.
Mm.
Take it to the park down the road, put a tree on it, put some roses on it in your yard, put it in the garden bed, because I'm just simply a collection of molecules that other people call a name.
The next closest is, have you heard of aquamation?
Tell me.
Somewhere in between, they put a body in what's effectively like a very, very, very alkaline solution. And over 30 days, your body just becomes part of the alkaline solution, which after another couple of months is fine to release into waterways. And so and it sort of leaves bone and a few other things, but for the most part, it just reduces your body to an alkaline solution and releases you back into the ocean.
Damn.
So you can choose earth or ocean. Both are an option. Aquamation is actually now legal here.
Wow.
So should that be what you want, we can do that.
Mate, get the compost. If you can work the composting thing out, I mean, that is a segment on Gardening Australia. I'd be honestly Costa bringing that in. We're down at beer today. No way, man. If you can get the composting thing up, that'd be so sick, because then you've got just the best soil ever. It would be, and every time there's you put a garden bed, you put a frangipani tree on it, I don't know, put a nice grevillea, for example. Every time the grevillea flowers, you're like, there he is.
Nice.
There he is. I mean, I would put fruit trees on top of me.
Yeah.
Because whatever.
Lemons in spring.
Why not? I mean, I like an apple, put an apple on there, put maybe a stone fruit, get one of those, the Italian guys down in Adelaide who are skilled in the dark arts of splicing. There's rented a house in Adelaide once. I had apricots, I think, on one side and plums on the other.
Nice.
All right, just unbelievable, because it's the same root system, the same stone fruit off of one tree. Put some of them in a garden somewhere, and there's Nana. Nana's apples are back. Ripper. It'd be unreal.
I think we've done it, Osher. We've got a
Surf Life
Saving Club, 12-piece band, fish and chips, sauna, couple of photos, open mic via Limerick.
Oh, yes.
Set list via Limerick. Epitaph is Didn't Die Wondering, we'll put you into the garden. I hope it's many, many, many years from now, Osher, but it sounds like a cracker. Thank you so much for joining us on the show and planning out your funeral with us.
Oh, thanks for asking me. I'm grateful to be a part of it. And maybe one day, I'll be able to go to Bunnings, and in the soil aisle, there'll be premium blood and bone, but it's, just call it Soil and Green. There it is.
And you've finally managed to monetize yourself outside of your shows.
Done.